The buoy looked solid from far away. A bright red channel marker bobbed at the harbour entrance, painted numbers faded by sun and salt. It warned boats where the safe water ran and where rocks or sandbars waited. It was anchored by chain to a heavy block on the seabed, but it still moved constantly, lifting and dropping with swell, turning in small circles, clicking and groaning when the tide pulled hard. To shipping, it was a sign. To divers, it was a boundary. To a dolphin, it was something else. A fixed point in a moving sea. Fish gathered around fixed points. Small baitfish hid near chains and shadows. Larger fish cruised past to feed. The buoy wasn't a reef, but it behaved like one, an artificial island where food drifted by. That morning the water was green-blue with strong current, and the channel was busy. A cargo ship had passed at dawn, leaving turbulence that took hours to settle. Seagulls screamed around fishing boats. The wind was light but steady, enough to roughen the surface. A small dive boat idled outside the channel markers with 2 divers and a guide. The guide was a woman named Karina Volkov, a former Navy diver who now ran tourist dives for wreck fragments scattered near the harbour mouth. She knew the currents, the schedules, the don't do stupid things rules that kept people alive. Her 2 clients were Sergei and Oksana, experienced enough to have their own gear, excited enough to push limits. They wanted to see the buoy chain and the seabed near it, because the chain often collected marine growth and small fish, and sometimes you could spot bigger hunters passing through. Karina checked the radio schedule for ship traffic, checked the current, and gave the briefing. "We stay outside the channel line," she said. "We do not touch the chain. We do not chase animals. If anything changes, boat traffic, current, or wildlife, we abort. Clear?" Sergei nodded, smiling behind his beard. Oksana adjusted her mask and gave a thumbs up. Karina had guided hundreds of dives. She still felt a small tightness in her chest whenever someone said, "Clear," too easily. They rolled in. Cold water rushed into suits. Bubbles rose. The surface noise faded into a muffled world of pressure and breath. Below, the buoy chain descended like a dark spine into the green. Visibility was moderate, 10 meters, maybe less. Enough to see the chain, the shadow of the anchor block, and the fish that moved around it like scattered sparks. Karina descended first, scanning. At 7 meters, she saw movement. A dolphin surfaced nearby, then slipped underwater again, fast and smooth. Not a whole pod, 1 dolphin. It moved around the buoy in a tight loop, coming close to the chain, then circling outward, then returning. It wasn't playful in the way tourists wanted, it wasn't leaping or showing off. It looked focused. Karina's mind flipped through possibilities. Food, a calf nearby, an injury, or the simple fact that some dolphins guarded certain spots like people guarded docks, because fixed points offered predictable hunting. Sergei saw it too. He pointed excitedly. Oksana waved her hand slightly, wanting the dolphin to come closer. Karina raised a hand. Stop! She didn't want them to rush the animal. Dolphins could be friendly, but they were large predators with speed and muscle, and they didn't always like humans in their space, especially near a resource like baitfish. The dolphin turned and swam straight toward them. Karina felt her chest tighten. It wasn't charging like a shark, but it was direct. It closed distance in seconds, then curved and passed in front of Karina's mask, close enough that Karina saw small scars on its flank, and the pale lines of old scratches near the dorsal fin. The dolphin made a sharp burst of bubbles and snapped its jaw once, not biting anything, just a loud underwater clap. A warning. Sergei flinched, eyes wide. Oksana's breathing accelerated. Karina held her position and extended one hand outward, palm open, calm signal, while slowly backing away from the chain. The dolphin followed, staying between them and the buoy. That was the detail that mattered. It wasn't curious. It was controlling space. Karina felt the cold clarity of it. The dolphin was guarding the buoy. And if her divers didn't respect that, the Dolphin might escalate from warning to impact, a body bump, a tail slap, a shove that could send a diver into the chain or into stronger current. Karina pointed upward, ascend, and made the cut sign, abort. Sergei hesitated. Oksana nodded quickly. They began a controlled ascent. The Dolphin stayed below them, still circling the buoy, still holding the spot like a sentry. Karina glanced down one last time and saw it tighten its loop again, exactly at the chain line, as if it was making sure the humans left. When their heads broke the surface, the wind sounded loud again. Sergei ripped his regulator out and said, breathless, "It came right at us." Karina climbed onto the boat and didn't smile. "Yes," she said, "and we're done here." Oksana sat on the bench, hands shaking slightly. "It was a dolphin," she said, as if surprised dolphins could feel like threat. Karina looked toward the red buoy bobbing in the channel swell. "Still an animal," she replied, "and it wants that spot." Back at the marina, Karina filed a report the way professionals did when something unusual happened. Date, location, behavior, risk level. Harbour authorities cared about hazards, especially near a shipping channel where divers weren't supposed to be close in the first place. Most officials dismissed dolphins as not a problem. But Karina wasn't reporting dolphin sighting. She was reporting defensive behaviour near a navigational marker. A harbour safety officer named Anton Petrenko met her at the dock. He was practical, mid-40s, always smelling faintly of cigarettes and diesel. He'd handled everything from drunken boaters to fuel leaks. "A dolphin chased you?" he asked, sceptical. Karina shook her head. "Not chased," she replied. "Blocked. It positioned itself between us and the buoy. It made a jaw clap, bubble burst. That's warning behaviour." Anton frowned. "Maybe it's used to boats," he said. Karina's eyes stayed steady. "Or maybe it's defending food. Or a calf," she said. "Either way, it's not safe for divers to approach." Anton glanced at the channel map. "You shouldn't be near the buoy chain anyway," he said. Karina didn't argue that. "Correct," she replied, "but divers do it, and now there's an extra reason not to." Sergei and Oksana weren't satisfied. They wanted a real dive. They wanted the wreck fragments. They wanted photos. Oksana said maybe it was a one-time thing. Karina didn't soften it. "Maybe," she said, "or maybe you met a pattern." That afternoon, Karina called an old acquaintance, Dr. Layla Hassan, a marine mammal researcher working nearby. Layla listened carefully, then asked the right questions. "Single dolphin?" Layla asked. "Yes," Karina replied. "Any signs of injury?" Layla continued. "Scars, but old," Karina said. "Focused behaviour, tight circles." Layla exhaled. "It could be a male holding a feeding station," she said. "Or a female with a calf that you didn't see. Dolphins can be protective." Karina's jaw tightened. "Divers don't think dolphins are dangerous." Layla's tone was flat. "Dolphins can be aggressive," she said. "They can ram. They can bite. Not common, but possible, especially if people crowd them." The next morning, despite Karina's warning, another dive operator took clients to the buoy. Not Karina's operation, someone cheaper, less cautious, eager for dolphin encounter videos. A young deckhand from that boat later told the marina story in a shaky voice. "They went down near the chain," he said, "and the dolphin hit one diver's fin. Hard, like a punch." The diver wasn't injured badly, but he panicked and kicked toward the surface too fast. His buddy grabbed him. The guide hauled them up. On the boat, the diver was pale and nauseous, not from dolphins, but from fear and rapid ascent. Karina heard this and felt cold anger, not at the dolphin, at the human habit of treating warning signs like entertainment. Anton, the harbour officer, finally took it seriously. He posted a notice, "No diving within X meters of channel marker buoys." A rule that had existed before, but now it had a story behind it. Rules worked better when fear supported them. Layla arrived with a small research boat and binoculars. She watched the buoy for an hour and saw the dolphin appear, again alone, again looping tight. At one point, a school of baitfish flashed near the chain. The dolphin surged and fed. Quick snaps, controlled bursts, then back to circling. Layla nodded to herself. "Feeding station," she murmured. Karina watched too and felt both relief and unease. Relief because it wasn't random aggression. Unease because feeding stations created habit, and habit created ownership. If the dolphin believed that Buoy was its reliable hunting point, it would return again and again, especially if boats dumped fish scraps nearby, or if the chain kept attracting small fish. That meant divers would keep being tempted, and each time the dolphin's warnings might escalate, because animals didn't warn forever, they warned until warnings failed. 3 days later, the sea went calmer. Calm water made people careless. The buoy looked harmless, bobbing gently under pale sun. The channel was quiet between ship movements. From the surface, it seemed like the perfect moment for a quick drop to the chain. Just a look, just a photo, then up. Sergei and Oksana begged Karina again. "Just once," Sergei said. "We keep distance. We're careful." Karina stared at them. She wanted clients. She wanted good reviews, but she wanted living clients more. "No," she said. They found another operator. Karina heard about it only because the marina gossip travelled faster than tides. She cursed under her breath and drove her boat out anyway, not to dive, but to watch from a distance. She kept her radio on. She watched the buoy, and she saw the dolphin surface, right on schedule. The other dive boat dropped 2 divers into the water near the marker. Karina's stomach tightened. She couldn't legally force them back. Harbour rules existed, but enforcement was slow and patchy. The divers descended, minutes passed, then the surface changed. A burst of bubbles appeared far from the buoy, fast, chaotic, not the neat column of controlled breathing. A diver broke the surface suddenly, splashing hard, ripping regulator partially out, coughing seawater. The diveboat crew shouted and pulled him to the ladder. A second diver surfaced seconds later, breathing hard, eyes wide. They were coming up fast, too fast. Karina drove closer and called on the radio. "What happened?" The other operator's voice was strained. "Dolphin," he said. "It came in hard. Bumped him. He panicked." Karina's jaw clenched. "Any injuries?" she demanded. "Not sure," the operator replied, but he shot up. Karina knew what a fast ascent could do. Decompression stress, lung overexpansion, disorientation. Even without a deep dive, panic could turn simple physics into hospital time. She watched the diver sit on deck, trembling, trying to breathe slowly. Someone handed him water. Someone checked his eyes like they were checking for damage. The dolphin surfaced again near the buoy, calm as ever, as if nothing unusual had happened. That was the most unsettling part. To the dolphin, it had simply enforced distance. To humans, it had created a medical risk. Harbour Patrol finally arrived, late but present, and told the dive boat to leave. Anton, the safety officer, stood at the stern of the patrol craft and shouted across the water, "No more diving here!" He looked angry, but also shaken, because now the story had teeth. Back at the marina, Layla met Karina and listened to the report. She wasn't surprised. "This is exactly what happens," Layla said quietly. "People call it cute until it becomes force." Karina's voice was hard. "So what do we do?" Layla looked toward the channel mouth. "You enforce distance," she said. "You educate. You keep boats from dumping scraps near markers. You accept that wild animals can own a space temporarily." Karina nodded, but her expression stayed tight. "And the dolphin?" she asked. Layla's answer was the only honest one. "It will stay as long as the buoy stays useful," she said. "Food, current, structure, that's the triangle." In the following weeks, the harbour placed additional warning signs and increased patrols during peak diving season. Karina changed her dive routes away from the channel mouth. She told clients the story straight, not romantic. Dolphins aren't mascots, she said. They're fast predators with opinions. Most listened, some didn't, but the ones who heard divers came up fast tended to respect the boundary. Out on the water, the red buoy continued to bob. The channel continued to flow, and the dolphin continued to circle its fixed point in the moving sea, guarding not with malice, but with habit and need. Because the ocean doesn't care what humans want to film, it cares what works. And that buoy, chain, shadow, current, baitfish still worked.